Let's take a look at our new vocabulary words for Lesson 25. Remember, we're going to use context clues and picture clues to figure out the definition for each word. Context clues are words or clues in a sentence that help us figure out the new meaning of a word we haven't seen before. Let's take a look at our first new word. Our first word is grain. Our sentence says, it is hard to pick up only one small grain of rice. So looking at the picture showing many grains of rice, I noticed that they are very tiny pieces. In the sentence, one of the clues I saw was the word small, used to describe a grain. So I would say that a grain is a small part of something. Think about a nice, beautiful, sunny day out on the beach. Would you rather have a grain of sand or a bucket of sand to play with? I hope you said a bucket of sand because it wouldn't be very much fun to play with one grain of sand. Can you think of other things that you might find a grain of each thing? I can. Salt, rice, sugar, and like we mentioned before, sand. All right, let's take a look at our second word. Our next word is pod. Our sentence says, a pod or shell protects peas as they grow. Well, using my context clue, remember a lot of times in a sentence, when they put a comma after the word, they sometimes explain or describe what the word means in between the next comma. So I noticed the word shell, and when I look at the picture, it definitely looks like a shell that covers or protects something. So a pod is a shell that covers seeds. Can you think of other vegetables that have a pod on them? Think about a pod you have seen in a garden or a picture. What did it look like? What color was it? What shape is it? Let's take a look at our next word. Soak. The children soak the soil with water to help the seeds grow. If you soak something, you are completely making it wet with a liquid. So in this example, they're soaking the soil. Have you ever been soaked out in the rain? I know today it was very rainy, and when I came back inside, my hair was soaked. Can you think of something else you might have had to soak? Maybe a sponge? Maybe dirty clothes that were being washed? Our next word is soften. The sentence says, the boiling water will soften the noodles. Well, think about what happens in this example. When we put noodles or macaroni into boiling water, before they go in, they're hard. However, once they've been in the water long enough, they soften, or they become softer or less hard. What could you do to soften a floor to lie on it? What might you do? I might put a pillow or a blanket on it. All right, let's take a look at our next word. Our next word is root. The sentence says, the root of this plant goes deep into the soil. Well, knowing that the root is the part of the plant that's deep in the soil, when I look at the picture, I can identify which part is the root. It's the part that's under the ground. A root is a part of a plant that grows down into the ground. The root of a plant draws water and minerals from the earth. What do you think happens to a plant when its root is pulled from the ground? Most likely it would die if it wasn't replanted. The root also gives it balance. It's able to hold the plant upright. Can you think of other things that have roots? Trees, other vegetable plants. Can you think of a vegetable that you eat that is a root, something that grows under the ground? Has anyone ever had a radish? Baked potatoes? All of those are roots or vegetables that grow under the ground. Our next word is another plant part, shoot. We planted seeds in the ground. Later, we saw a shoot begin to grow. So if it just began to grow, it would be a small piece of the plant shooting out of the ground. So a shoot is a plant that has just begun to grow. So it's not very big yet. Think about some things you would have to do to take care of a shoot so that it grows into a plant. Right now, it's very small and it needs more sunlight, it needs good soil, it needs rainwater, a lot of these things to take care of it and help it grow. Our next word is nutrition. Eating vegetables is a good way to get the nutrition that your body needs. Well, what are things that my body needs? What might that word nutrition mean? It says eating vegetables. Well, I know vegetables are good for me, or they're healthy foods. So when we eat healthy food, our bodies get the nutrition needed to grow and stay healthy. Sometimes we hear the word nutritious. That's where it is used to describe something that has a lot of nutrition in it. Can you think of different foods that have nutrition for you in them? Milk would be a good example. Soda is probably not the best example. I bet broccoli and celery are good examples, but French fries probably aren't. I bet bananas and bread have a lot of nutrition. Can you think of any other foods that have a lot of nutrition in them? Our last vocab word is tasty. The sentence says, I ate the whole apple because it was so tasty. Well, I can think of a synonym for the word tasty. Can you? Let's see if you can read my mind. What word am I thinking of right now? I was thinking of the word delicious. I hope you were able to read my mind. So if something's tasty, you could say it's delicious or it has good flavor. Think of something right now that is very tasty to you. One of my favorite tasty foods is watermelon. Do you think spoiled milk would be tasty? Blech, definitely not. All right, so those are our 8 new vocabulary words. Make sure you read your vocabulary reader today so you can find out what your assignment is.